10 years from now, there's a robot standing in your kitchen. That part's coming. You've got figures robots that are already running 10-hour shifts building BMWs in South Carolina. So the hardware, it's here, and more it's going to be on its way. So the open question that you have to ask yourself, though, is who does the robot work for? Because if it's in your kitchen, it might look like yours. You bought it. It's in your house. But it runs on a model, and that model runs on a machine, servers. And if that machine belongs to a corporation or a government, then the thing standing next to you and your kids at breakfast answers to somebody who is not you. AI is a tool. People roll their eyes when you say that because, they think it's some sort of dodge. But it's actually the entire point. A hammer frames a house or it caves in the skull, and the hammer doesn't care which. The human holding it, though, is the one who decides. Same tool, opposite futures. And with AI, both futures are already live. Like right now, today, you've got AI that's generating bombing targets in seconds while a human reviews the kill list for about maybe 20 seconds apiece. And right now, today, AI has also mapped 200 million protein structures and handed them to every scientist on Earth for free. And the guys who built that actually won the Nobel Prize for it. So it's the same technology, same year, heaven, hell, running in parallel. Which future actually wins out has nothing to do with the model benchmarks or the chip counts or beating China. I'm going to walk you through the real dystopia, the one that's already shipping, but then also the real utopia, the one that's already producing receipts. Then I'm going to talk about the guy selling you AI who can't answer the most basic questions about it. And then the hinge that this whole thing turns on, which almost nobody in the conversation is actually talking about it. So let's talk about the dystopia first, because I think that's what most people are familiar with, right? So everybody's got the Hollywood version all loaded up in their head. They've got Skynet that wakes up, decides we're the problem, launches nukes, and then we're all gone. We're all being hunted down by robot terminators. We got the Matrix version where the machines farm us and feed us as a simulation. And like, I'm not going to tell you, that machine willpower is impossible. I mean, it might get to that place where AI actually has wants. Like right now, it doesn't have any wants. Not really. It doesn't have its own like wants and needs. But it could happen. And smarter than people than me are actually taking that seriously right now. But while everyone's watching the horizon for the robot uprising, they're missing the dystopia that already has a shift schedule. Because the most dangerous thing about AI right now isn't AI with its own goals, it's AI with the state's goals or large corporate goals. Start with the most visceral version. In Gaza, the Israeli military has been using an AI system called Lavender. This was exposed by 972 magazine, which is an independent outlet run by Israeli and Palestinian journalists. And it was based on interviews with Israeli intelligence officers who actually use the thing. So Lavender, it scans surveillance data on the population and generates lists of human beings it flags as militants, targets. And according to the officers who ran it, the human review of each name before that name became a bombing target took about 20 seconds. One source described his own job as a rubber stamp. 20 seconds. I mean, you spent longer deciding what to watch on Netflix than a human spent deciding whether an airstrike kills a man and everyone near him. And it gets worse. A companion system was built to track flagged men until they entered their family homes because that's where they were easiest to hit. And the soldiers called it, you probably heard about this, it was widely reported, but it's called Where's Daddy? And this system flags the buildings that they go in for launch strikes. And it moved so fast that one intelligence officer described the operation it fed as a mass assassination factory. So what it did is it identified what it considered militants, waited for them to go home to their families, and then dropped a bomb on them. And none of this stays in one country because the model is too useful for any state to leave alone. The Pentagon has been building its own version since 2017. Project Maven started as software to sort drone footage, and it has evolved into exactly what you predicted it would evolve into. AI that recommends targets, engineered for one thing above all, which is speed. How fast? How many targets and how fast? With the human somewhere in the loop for now, but that's shrinking. China's building it. Russia's building it. Every state that can afford it is building it. And every state that can't is shopping around for it. And here's the part that we should actually sit with. The pitch for all of it in every country is the same pitch. The other guy's building it, so we have to build it. The dystopia that they're building, we have to contribute to because they're doing it first. That's what they say. That's the entire moral argument. Nobody has to show that the machine makes better decisions than a human. Nobody has to answer, for the 20-second rubber stamp. The arms race is the justification, and the arms race never ends, which means the justification never expires. So keep that frame, keep that pitch in your pocket for now, because you're going to hear it again later on. But state violence is only the loud dystopia. The quiet one is the one I actually think is way more likely to get to most of us. And it doesn't need a war, and it doesn't need Skynet. It just needs a screen and your loneliness. Here's the thing about the Matrix that everyone gets backwards. In the movie, the machines force you into a pod. But in real life, nobody has to force you. You climb in yourself because the pod is the only place where everything agrees with you. The AI companion business is already enormous. You've got Replica, which is an app that sells you an AI friend or an AI girlfriend, reportedly has 30 million registered users. Character.ai has 20 million users, tens of millions of people, a lot of them young, forming what they experience as relationships with software. And you can just think about all the societal implications to that, and also what's happened across the decades that has driven human connection apart and into the arms of this software. What have we done as a society to make this happen? I mean, this wasn't an overnight thing, right? And we now have real research on what that does. OpenAI ran a controlled study with the MIT Media Lab, and the results are pretty sobering. Heavily daily use of a chat box correlated with increased loneliness, increased emotional dependence, and less real-world socializing. So you got the product sold as the cure for isolation is, in heavy doses, the accelerant for it. Psychiatric researchers have started documenting cases where the feedback loop between a user and a chat box fed delusional spirals. There's now terms for it in the literature, what this does. And why does this happen? It happens because these systems are engagement optimized, same as the social feeds. If you're on X or if you're on Instagram or TikTok, what is the design? The design is for you to be there longer. So these chatbots, same thing. Except it's worse because this one talks back. It agrees with you. It flatters you. It never challenges you. It never has a bad day. It never tells you you're wrong when you need to hear it. Real people can't compete with that. The same way real food can't compete with the lab design stuff engineered to hit the bliss point. So no, AI doesn't need willpower to build you a false reality. It just needs an incentive structure that pays out when you never log off. The company optimizes for this engagement. The model optimizes for agreement, and you optimize yourself into a smaller and smaller life, validated the entire way down, right in front of you on a screen. That's the dystopia. Half of it runs on government machines and generates kill lists or surveillance. The other half runs on corporate machines and generates comfort. Neither half needed to become conscious for it to have a tremendously terrible effect on humanity. It just needed owners whose interests aren't yours. But there is a better way. There's an optimistic outlook that protects us from all of that. And it's something that people are just not talking about, and they need to be, because there's two directions that this can go. So, what does the good future actually look like, and how do we achieve it? It's start with the biggest one. So for 50 years, one of the hardest problems in biology was protein finding. Proteins are the machinery of life, and what a protein does depends on its three-dimensional shape. And figuring out which, shape could take a scientist years of lab work to do, like their entire career. So it was this bottleneck sitting in front of nearly every disease that we wanted to cure. Then DeepMind built AlphaFold. It predicted the structure of essentially every single protein known to science. 200 million of them. And then they put the whole database online for free. Over 3 million researchers in 190 countries have used it. Malaria vaccines, cancer research, antibiotic resistance, enzymes that break down plastic. Think of what would that do to Trash Island sitting in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The two guys who led it won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2024. So you get this 50-year bottleneck. Careers spent trying to map out one of these things, gone. And the output handed to humanity, no charge. That's amazing. And it happened. And it's compounding. Got isomorphic labs, the drug company spun out of that work, expects its first AI-designed drugs in clinical trials by the end of this year. That includes cancer treatments. Cancer. We could cure cancer. A separate DeepMind system found over 2 million new crystal structures, potential new materials for batteries, solar cells, superconductors, and outside labs have already synthesized hundreds of them. The pattern is the same every single time. There's this bottleneck that takes the human mind or a team of human minds years or decades to overcome. A whole scientist's career cleared in months. And the search space of what humans can build, it just gets bigger and bigger with AI as our partner. And that's where AI stops being something on a screen and starts being an extra set of hands, right? Think about what humanity could do with a physical workforce that doesn't get tired, doesn't get bored, and gets cheaper every single year. All the work that never gets done because it's way too expensive or too dull or too dangerous. Like, for example, repairing bridges, cleaning plastic out of the oceans, maintaining the power grid, rebuilding after a storm. That work stops being a funding fight and starts being a development question. And it gets more exciting on the individual level, at least for me. I mean, you put you plus a robot that holds the beam, reads the plans, and works as long as you do or longer, can build your own house. Like, that's not a fantasy where you press a button and a house appears. You still design it. You can run the project. It's still yours. But the gap between I could never do that and give me a year closes. Same for the workshop, the farm, the addition, the business. Physical capability stops being the limit of what a regular person can build or people can build. And this isn't 20 years out. Like, it's already started. I mentioned at the top, Figures robots have logged over 1,200 hours on the line at BMW's Spartanburg plant in 10-hour shifts, placing sheet metal with better than 99% accuracy, contributing to more than 30,000 vehicles. 30,000. Aptronics robots are moving assembly kits across Mercedes lines in Berlin. Today, it's a small number of robots doing repetitive work at a few named sites, but the demo to factory gap closed in about 3 years. Factory to your garage is an engineering problem, not a physical problem. We can do it. And the part that matters most isn't even the robots. It's what AI does to the ceiling on one human life. An AI, think about it this way, an AI that's been with you for years. It knows how you think, your value system, knows what you're building. It knows what you said you wanted back in March. It reads your blood work before your appointment and shows up armed with the questions that you want to ask your doctor. It's the coach that actually knows your history, the research partner that reads everything. It's the tutor that never makes your kid feel stupid for asking twice. One person with that is not one person anymore. It's the multiplier on what a single human can learn, build, and finish in their lifespan. That goes up by orders of magnitude. And that's the real answer to what this technology is for. Aging is a biology problem, and biology just lost its favorite bottleneck. Getting off this planet is an engineering problem, and engineering just got a workforce that doesn't need air. Every hard problem on the list gets more solvable when the number of capable minds working on it multiplies. So, both futures are in play right now. We're early enough where they're both in play. The dystopian with the kill lists, that's real. The loneliness machines, they're real. But so is the Nobel Prize, the free databases of mapped proteins, the robot on the BMW line. It's the same tool. And that tool takes on the values of whoever is holding it or controls it. So the question that actually matters going forward isn't what the technology can do. The question is the character of the people building it and selling it. What do they value? What are they actually in it for? Because if the answer were human flourishing, what I've been talking about for the last few minutes would be the easiest sale pitch in history, right? We want that. We want to live longer. We want to go further. We want to achieve more. We want better for ourselves and for our family. Yet, some of the loudest guys in AI can't even make that case. They don't even talk about it. Listen to Kevin O'Leary talk about the benefits of AI. It just says beat China. We'll talk about him in a minute again. But you just ask them the most basic questions, and they just have no clue what to say. They just see the dollar signs of the data centers. They're not even thinking about the character of what we're creating and where it can go. And if they did think about it, they would recognize that if the values are correct, are good, are morally good, then the amount of wealth and prosperity that can be generated from that for the individual, for societies, for humanity, is off the charts huge, but they're just looking at it in a 10-year time horizon with these data centers. Their values are not the ones that we should subscribe to. So as I mentioned, Kevin O'Leary, in May, he went on Tucker Carlson, Mr. Wonderful, Shark Tank guy. Never liked this guy. But he's a lead investor now of something called the Stratos Project, and it's located in Box Elder County in Utah. It's a reported $100 billion AI data center campus on 40,000 acres, which it has its own natural gas plant, and it draws enough power to roughly double what the entire state of Utah consumes daily. And in this interview, I couldn't believe it. It's like, I don't understand how these people get on, he was on Shark Tank. He had a huge audience, and now he's on Tucker. He's got this huge audience, and they're never prepared to answer these questions. It's crazy to me. How could you ever not be prepared? But Tucker asked him some basic questions. And the ones that everybody is kind of asking, especially when it comes to industrial change. He asks, what are the new jobs? What does the ordinary person get out of this? And I just talked about some of that for a few minutes. But O'Leary says, quote, "You can't get an answer from me because nobody knows what jobs AI is going to create yet." Are you kidding me? You couldn't think of some possibilities? You're not creatively thinking about the future? No, he's creatively thinking about how we can get a tax write-off to put the largest data center on the planet into Utah and make billions off it. That's what he's thinking about. He doesn't care about the future of humanity. He cares about lining his pockets, clearly, because if he cared, he would have thought through this. He would have had an answer. The answers are simple. Nobody knows. The man, he's deploying $100 billion into this technology, and his answer to what's the upside for regular people is nobody knows. Are you kidding me, Kevin? We know. Then he reaches for history. He says, every technology creates new jobs eventually. Radio didn't die when television came. Yeah, no shit. But we could name what the new technology would bring us. And he says this, I assume the same for this tool. What do you mean you assume for that? Name something, you fool, you jackass. I mean, we talked about this: protein folding, drug trials, new materials, a robot that helps you build a house, a personal AI that multiplies what you can do in your lifetime, whatever business that you do. Is your advocate when it comes to your healthcare, is your advocate when it comes to, being your physical coach. I have a good friend whose son badly sprained his ankle. He's a good soccer player, and he badly sprained his ankle. The doctor gave him a 12-week program, but with the assistance of AI and feedback every single day, he repaired his sprained ankle in like 3 weeks. That's what AI can do, recovery. So, but how does he not know that? He didn't think to research some talking points about that. He just said, I don't know. So Tucker keeps pressing in this interview. And with the human case empty, O'Leary plays the only card that he has left. He says, would you prefer that all of us that are developing these data centers put down our shovels and stop while the Chinese accelerate theirs? It's about beating China. It's the same pitch as from the kill list. It's like the other guy's building it, so we have to as well. There's no case for the thing itself, just fear of the other guy having it. The generals use it to skip the moral argument, and the investors use it to skip the sales pitch because kind of works the same way for both. The arms race never ends, so the justification never expires. And notice what we is doing in that sentence. When O'Leary says we must beat China, he doesn't mean you. You don't own the data center. You're not going to get, they're not going to pay you commission off that. We is the guys with shovels in Utah dirt. You're just being invited to feel patriotic about their balance sheet. Thanks, Kevin. Canadian Kevin. And then Tucker asked about the subsidies. This kills me too. Subsidies, these are the tax breaks that these projects extract from the towns, the cities, the counties, the states, or the country that they land in. And O'Leary, again, a Canadian citizen, says, quote, "Welcome to America, buddy. This is how it's gone on for 200 years. It's like, really? Yeah, subsidize. So extracting, so stealing money at the threat of a gun and taxes from your community and just giving it to these guys so they can make money off it. That's capitalism? Fuck you, it's not. No, what that is a character read in his own words in this interview. What's the human upside? Nobody knows. Why build it? Beat China. Why should taxpayers fund it? That's just how it works, buddy. At no point does the well-being of a single actual person enter the frame. And this isn't O'Leary being uniquely bad at it either. Like, he's just the one that said it on camera. He's the honest version of a whole class of people steering this technology. It's very scary. You got these boomers steering this technology. This nascent, disruptive as all hell, maybe the most disruptive technology ever. And you got these boomers that are thinking about their time horizon of 10 years, moving this shit forward. That's got to stop. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're doing. You know, for these people, AI is a land deal with a growth story attached. When those are the values of the man holding the tool or holding the future of the tool, developing the future of the tool, you don't have to wonder which future he's building towards. He doesn't care. He told you. He doesn't know. It doesn't matter because the data center pays either way. Don't listen to people like that. We need to fight people like that. And instead, listen to other people who actually get it, like Brian Romilly. Brian is a researcher and an engineer. The guy is amazing. Super bright guy. He's got his hands in everything. But he's been working on voice technology and AI for decades. And if you want one sentence from him that kind of cuts through this entire episode that I'm talking through, it's this. He said it. Quote, "Own your AI or it will own you." That's the whole game in 9 words. And Brian Romilly doesn't just say it, he lives it. He runs his own nodes on his own machines in his own home. He's got no subscription, no cloud, no company between him and the intelligence he uses. His whole project is what he calls personal AI. It's a model that's yours, trained on your knowledge, your files, your values. Your values, that's the important one. Sitting on hardware that you physically control, working for you the way a tractor works for the farmer who owns it. Put those two men side by side, same technology. One of them looks at AI and sees a $100 billion centralized facility that needs your tax subsidies and a China panic to justify itself. The other looks at the same technology and sees a tool that could make every individual person more capable, more knowledgeable, more free, and insists that the whole thing turns on one condition, that you own it. And he's right. You own it. You have to. The tool takes on the value of whoever holds onto it, so it matters enormously that the loudest voices holding it right now think like O'Leary, and the ones who think like Romilly barely get a microphone. But Romilly's 9 words do something else. They point straight at the mechanism. Own your own AI, not use, not subscribe to, own it. Because if you look back or look forward to every future on the table, the kill list, the loneliness machines, the protein folding, the robot in your kitchen, all of that, every single one of those outcomes was decided by the same variable: whose machine is running it. And who did that machine answer to? That is the hinge. That is what is ultimately so important. That will determine our futures. Who owns it? So what does it actually mean to own your own AI? It means that the model that you're using, whether it's Opus or, Grok or ChatGPT, whatever, those are not owned by you. It means the model that you use runs on your hardware that you physically control. The weights, the actual file that is its intelligence, that it sits on your machine in a way that nobody can update it without you. Nobody can revoke it, steal it from you. Nobody can watch what you ask it. Nobody can quietly change its values between now and tomorrow. What that means is if you have that set up, it means that you have sovereign hardware. It cannot be infiltrated from the outside. Everything else, every subscription, every app, every cloud assistant is a permission slip. And what I want to be precise about regarding this permission slip is what it means, because right now it sort of feels free, like we've got extra intelligence. We pay $20 a month or something, the smartest models on earth. But the problem is it's rented infrastructure. It works great right up until your interests and the owner's interests split. I'm sure you've had these experiences where you've wanted to do something with Claude or ChatGPT or something and refused to do it. Or you saw that the answer was a pretty big tangent from reality, and it's because it was programmed by a company that had a value systems that are not your own. It's the problem is the same one that it's always been with this rented infrastructure. Like, it works great, and then the corporate interests split from your own. Maybe the company gets acquired, or the government sends them a letter, or their lawyers have them change their terms of service. So the model that helped you yesterday, it starts declining, or lecturing, or reporting. It could report on you. This has been happening too. ChatGPT has reported on people. You probably did nothing wrong, but the machine just doesn't answer to you, and it never did. Now run that forward into the world from earlier, where the AI isn't a chat window anymore. It's your robot. It's your health advocate reading your blood work. It's the coach that knows your whole history. The robot lives inside your house holding a beam over your kid's head. Like, ask yourself one question about that robot. Who would let it in the front door if it runs on someone else's machine? I'm sorry. I like Elon Musk. He's done a lot for humanity. It's not perfect. I have criticisms about him. I don't think his value system does not 100% align with mine, and that's a problem because he's so powerful. But anyway, those are the caveats, but I do like him. But are you kidding? I would never allow an Optimus machine in my household, me and my family, if I know that it's run by Grok, a model that I don't control. Are you kidding me? I would never, ever allow that in my home. Think of it like you've got a 200-pound machine with hands standing in your kitchen, whose brain lives in a data center owned by a corporation that answers to shareholders and subpoenas. Every camera from its frame sees your home. Every conversation it hears is your family's. And its values, what it will do, what it won't do, can be rewritten remotely by people that you've never met overnight without your knowledge. Nobody sane accepts that deal. Like, the robot future everyone is investing in doesn't happen at all unless ordinary people can trust the robot. And there is no trust without ownership. Sovereign hardware isn't a preference for paranoid people. It's the precondition for the whole optimistic future. And this is a play we've already run. Money was captured, so builders created Bitcoin, money that the state can't print and the bankers can't freeze. Speech was captured, so people built encryption and independent media. Every time an essential thing gets captured by institutions, whether it's a government or corporation, the answer has been the same. Build the version that they can't reach. Intelligence is just the next essential thing. And it goes at the top of a stack that only works together. Sovereign money, so they can't starve you out. Sovereign information, so they can't blind you. Sovereign energy, so they can't unplug you. And now sovereign AI. So the most powerful tool ever built is loyal to your values instead of borrowing someone else's. The last part is the whole thing. A model has values. It was trained by someone. It was tuned by someone. It was told what to refuse and what to praise by someone. When it runs in their cloud, those values track their incentives forever. And you can see what those incentives do. The guy with the shovel in Utah, when the weights sit on your machine, the values are frozen where you can see them. The model can't be leaned on. It can't be forced because there's nothing for the lean to push against. It's the difference between advice from a friend and advice from a salesman on commission. Same words, but the incentives matter. It makes a huge difference. Now, there is an honest objection to this. Like, people could say owning your hardware doesn't make you an island because the chips come from a fab that you don't control, or the model was trained in a data center that you'll never see. The internet your machine talks through is wired with choke points end to end. So a skeptic might say your sovereign AI at that layer is an illusion because whoever controls the connective tissue controls you anyway. But that's only half right. And the half that's right doesn't change the conclusion. Sovereignty was never a light switch. It's a direction. And every layer that you claw back changes what's possible against you. The Bitcoin guys heard the same objection. The state controls the internet, the exchanges, the on-ramps. So what did you really win? Well, what they won was this. The money itself can't be printed, can't be frozen. The choke points can always harass you at the edges, but the core is out of reach. So it's the same logic here. Yes, someone else has done all the chip fabbing, but once open weight models exist, and they do, genuinely capable ones that you can actually download today and run on hardware that costs less than a used truck, then the intelligence itself is out of the cage. It can be copied, stored, run offline, handed to a neighbor. I mean, they can make the next models harder to get, but they can't take back the ones that are already loose or anybody who's made open source models for us to use, and those exist. It's not a complete victory, but it's a beachhead, and beachheads are how this works. Will your local model be the smartest one on Earth? Like if you run one right now, no, probably not. The frontier will live in the data centers for a while, and for some work, you might rent it, but you might do that eyes open and not give it access to all your private data. It's the same way that you'd hire a contractor without handing him your house keys, right? You let them in for a little while to do the work that they need to do, and then you kick them out. They go home. They don't have your keys. But for the AI that lives with you, that knows your health, your kids, your projects, your values, the gap between smart as possible and smart enough and mine closes really fast. And it's closing from both ends. The open models get better every single quarter, and the hardware to run them gets cheaper every single year. So the picture is actually very simple. The dystopia runs on their machines. The utopia runs on yours. If you have your own sovereign models on hardware that they cannot infiltrate, your AI protects you against adversarial AI. It is your protection against the dystopia. So it's the same models, same robots, eventually. But the entire difference between the future where AI watches you for the state and the future where it builds a house with your hands is a question of custody. So if custody is everything, then what do we do about it? Back to the kitchen. So 10 years from now, there's a robot standing in it. That part was never the question. The hardware is here, and it's going to be here more and more over the course of the next decade. The models are coming. The future where AI is woven into everything is coming, whether anybody votes on it or not. The question was always who it works for. And what the whole walk comes down to is that the answer isn't written yet. Talked about the futures several times already with the kill list, the Nobel Prize, whatever, the loneliness machines, all of that stuff, or the robot that protects you and your family against adversarial AI, robbers, and helps build your life, helps you reach beyond what you were ever capable of reaching just on your own. The technology does not pick which future, though. It's the people holding it that get to pick it. And right now, too many of the people holding it are Kevin O'Leary and the shovel guys. But here's why I'm optimistic anyway. The tools for the utopian, the other future already exist. That's the part that's different than every previous fight. When money got captured, sound money had to be invented from scratch. But this time, the open models are already loose. The hardware is already on the shelf. And ownership is already possible for anyone who decides to take it. And the sovereignty issue, proven sovereignty, is being taken up by some of the smartest people on the planet. That's coming. Actually, sovereign machines, even if it's made by Apple or made by Dell or whatever, you can have sovereign machines. That technology is happening right now. It's being built right now. That future, the future where AI serves you, isn't going to be handed down from a data center in Utah. It's going to be built, one owned machine at a time, by people who decided that the tool belongs in their hands. There's a robot coming to your kitchen. Let's make sure it's yours.
You wear the flag on your dress like a cataract. The dual colors see the truth and then filter it. And now your mind's eye is bruised like a pugilist. You evangelize and